California Governor Gavin Newsom definitely has a number of problems, but he is not afraid to try new things. You've got to give him that. His office on X has been writing these posts acting like Donald Trump, and he recently came up with a new nickname for J.D. Vance. Very Trumpish. Remember Low Energy Jeb, remember Crooked Hillary, remember Lion Ted. So Newsweek reports, after pivoting into a Trump style of social media posting to mock the US president, Newsom's team has now introduced a new nickname for VP J.D. Vance. Quote, Just Dance Vance. Like the game, that's what J.D. Vance stands for, Just Dance Vance. The governor's office was commenting on Vance's recent visit to Indianapolis, where Republicans are under pressure from the Trump admin to redraw the state's electoral map ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. Yeah, they're trying to redraw maps so that they can get more seats. You know, if you're losing and if you don't like the rules, you change the rules. So he wrote, not even JD Just Dance Vance can save Trump from the disastrous maps war he has started, Newsom's office wrote on X on Saturday, mimicking Trump's habit to write in all caps. So that's pretty hilarious. And you know what? He could have gone even more aggressive. He could have said something like Couch Cuddler or Couch Casanova Vance. You know, that kind of goes back to an old over year-long thing about J.D. Vance and the couch thing in Hillbilly Elegy, which he didn't actually write about, but it was just a meme and kind of used to disparage him early on in the 2024 election. So the kind of trolling that Newsom is currently directing at Trump on social media is yet another step in the quickly escalating clash between the U.S. president and the California governor. Their relationship has deteriorated after Trump decided to send thousands of National Guard troops and hundreds of Marines to Los Angeles earlier this summer, despite Newsom's objections. Yeah, Newsom kind of seemed to want Trump to arrest him too. You know, he was kind of hoping that, okay, this would boost my chances in 2028. It would make me look like a resistance hero if I got arrested at the behest of President Trump. So yeah, is this entertaining? Yeah, it's entertaining. Is it the type of thing that will exactly win you Democratic voters? I don't know about that. Democrats don't usually do this whole lowest common denominator is cool thing. I think Gavin Newsom is a favorite to win the Democratic nomination. You know, I know it's 2025, so it's very early, but I think he has a good shot just based off name recognition, based off being the governor of the largest state in the country in terms of population for 8 years. So that's something that's very helpful to him. He survived a recall back in 2021, if you remember. So that was something that, of course, boosted his name recognition across the country. He's made a name for himself. He's more of a moderate, I would say. A lot of progressives have strongly criticized him for his policies on homelessness, some of his tough on crime policies. So yeah, he's not a sympathetic figure in the eyes of most people who are solidly on the left, but neoliberals would probably adore the idea of him being president. And some progressives kind of make the case for him in a more begrudging way, although there's probably other candidates they would prefer, like, you know, a younger Bernie Sanders if he were younger, or Elizabeth Warren, or Andy Bashir, someone like that, who doesn't have this kind of, you know, reactionary bend to them where they invite right-wingers onto their show. He invited Charlie Kirk onto his podcast, as well as Steve Bannon and Michael Savage, which was pretty cringe. But this is entertaining. He's giving us some entertainment from the Democratic side. A bunch of Trump supporters are clutching their pearls over it, actually. They're saying, what's wrong with you, you freak? Why are you acting like this? And then when progressives respond and say, it's what your guy does, they're saying, well, we're not mad about it. We're just saying that it's a bad impression and it doesn't work because it's inauthentic. It's inauthentic because only Trump can do that. Oh, really? Show me the rule that says only Trump can act like a goofball and type in all caps on social media, whatever. And also, this isn't Gavin Newsom's actual Twitter account. It's his office, which I would say there's a little bit of a distinction there. Yeah, so Newsom, I mean, he's got a lot of things going for him in terms of being in California simply. You know, if he were the governor of some other state like Connecticut or Vermont, you know, he'd have a lower profile just by virtue of the fact that he's got this big metropolitan area in California, and Trump, you know, sent the troops, the Marines in there, and is taking all these ridiculous ICE actions in California, you know, just rounding up so-called illegal immigrants and treating them very poorly. And Gavin Newsom is like, hey, wait a minute, you know, he's protesting and he's joining protesters actually. You know, J.D. Vance is also mocking him on X. You know, he mocked him for, you know, sympathizing for immigrants who get separated from their families. So yeah, he's had Republicans actually help him quite a bit in boosting his name profile. And, you know, that could help. Democrats, you know, helped Trump get a lot of name recognition in the 2015 and 2016 era, you know, when he would say something outrageous and they would go, oh, look at this. Oh, my God, Trump said this. Oh, Trump. You know, and he's a guy who never held public office. He was just kind of a household name, sort of like Newsom, although I would say, less so than Trump because Trump wasn't a politician. He was a real estate mogul and, an actor, basically, celebrity apprentice. So, Newsom is kind of similar to Reagan in the sense that he's got 8 years of governor of California under his belt. So that's something that's going to be very helpful. I think 2028 is going to be close. I think Newsom and Vance are definitely gearing up to take each other on. I think we can see that through their exchanges on X. Vance loves going after people on X, engaging with people on the left, which I sort of, in a very minor way, I give him credit for that, where he is actually willing to respond to his critics, even though most of what he says is just plain stupid and full of lies and just toxic, and just not really addressing much of the substance, but just badgering. But he actually responds to people, and when have we seen a vice president do much of that? Kamala Harris and Mike Pence actually kind of kept low profiles while their president was in office, up until Kamala Harris, of course, became the Democratic nominee in 2024. But yeah, Newsom and Vance are definitely posturing to be the guys to take each other on. It would be hilarious if Vance is the guy who's not acting like Trump and Newsom is the guy who is acting like Trump in their election. I think we all know who will win in that scenario. Although I will say Democrats probably aren't going to gravitate toward him quite as much as hardcore MAGA people gravitate toward Trump for acting like a total unhinged lunatic. Even if Gavin Newsom actually genuinely just started calling Republicans traitors and calling Democrats who don't agree with him dinos and saying that they're the scum of the earth like Trump says about Republicans, I don't think that Newsom would have too much ability to sort of grow a cult following or anything. And that's kind of what Trump did. But yeah, he's given us some entertainment. MAGA people are triggered. Stay triggered, MAGA. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. This is the more the merrier, and I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.